So yeah, I don't know if I'm completely convinced that we're gonna get Donald Trump again for another 5 years. No,
I think it's
4.
4.
You sure?
Yeah. How many Democratic nominees are left?
In 3, 2, 1. It's the Shant and Ari podcast, you guys. Almost choked. Episode number 31. Shant, how you feeling tonight, big guy?
Really good, man. I've just really appreciated our off-air political talk we had. It was really in-depth. Just spot on.
Need some student loan debt canceled, so Bernie wants to make any promises that he can't keep. I'll be all for it.
Yeah.
Recognize Armenian genocide too, maybe while you're at it.
Yeah, that's the norm presidential speech. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Armenian genocide, and they get it and forget. But it's all right.
We fall in the same trap every single time, don't we?
Yeah, and we all are just still fall for it every single time.
Doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat.
Yeah.
He is going to recognize the genocide, so he's got my vote.
That's the only criteria on if that's
it, right?
Only criteria Armenia needs to get the vote, and we know we're going to get tricked, and we just keep falling for it.
Oh yeah,
we're the easiest ones out there to get the vote.
So, yeah, no, we how did we even get that deep into? Oh, so yeah,
we're talking about So we were talking, and what we're going to talk about today, man. I'm excited for this one. I've been pumped all day. We're going to talk about like business versus entrepreneurship, if that's even a thing, and also we're going to talk about how do you know if you're ready to get into like being a business person? Like, is that a trait? Is it you have to sell baseball cards like Gary Vee says when you're young? What is it, right? Like what's
stands?
What's on the resume? Yeah. I see a lot of jackasses out there, kids doing their lemonade stands. Don't mean they're going to be in business.
Pissed off the whole time because they don't want to do anything like that. They just want to go to their desk job. Fuck this shit. So I guess... So we were talking about somebody that you were trying to refer me to, and they had a business in Jersey, but now they're an investor in Cali. And it sort of reminds me, like, I got a restaurant in Boston, but now I have a nationwide consulting business, which you got to separate the two sometimes, but a lot of people like to group them together. Like, just because you're in business or businesses, all of a sudden you've taken on a title, and that's being called entrepreneur. I don't even like being called entrepreneur.
Isn't it the same thing, though?
I don't think so. Like, let me ask you, Shant, do you think that to some degree that there's multiple definitions of the word entrepreneur? Like, somebody like you could define entrepreneur and somebody down the street could define it completely differently?
Yeah. Okay. I get it. But I think you were going to tell me this before we got on air. You have what is the definition of an entrepreneur?
So the actual definition boggles my mind. So an entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. But that could be any person starting a business.
So BAC is not an entrepreneurial because, I mean, there's not like a major financial, like your dad starting the restaurant is entrepreneurial, right? Because he had to fork up probably a lot of money.
Right. Okay. But if you ask my dad now, are you an entrepreneur? He might tell you I've made some entrepreneurial move or made some entrepreneurial decisions, but I wouldn't consider myself to be an entrepreneur by nature. I'm just starting a business. So I guess I guess by definition, entrepreneur has to have an active component to it. Like you're constantly in that mindset to begin with. So what makes an entrepreneur for me is constantly being in the business of being in different businesses.
So what's the definition of a businessman? Is a man or woman who works in business or commerce, especially at an executive level. So like people who work for a company could be a businessman then, no? Like
I think so.
Okay.
I think that to a certain degree, when you are operating or representing a business, you are a businessman. But when you are starting a business or businesses, especially at, like it said, a greater risk for failure, which is a lot of startups, tech companies, stuff like that. I think at that level of risk, you are an entrepreneur, because what sets you apart from a businessman, in my opinion, when you are an entrepreneur is you're outside of the box thinking.
Okay, so for me, right, because I don't think I'm a businessman, right? Like my real estate sales business is not really a business, right? Because technically I work for the broker, which I don't have a product I'm selling. It's just more, I'm more providing a service, right? Now, I guess, and I never thought of this till you said it, till financial risk and constant financial risk. I guess my investing, which I thought was business, it's not. That's more entrepreneurial because I'm risking money constantly. Right? So is that side more entrepreneurial then?
I think that, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that anytime you are putting yourself at risk of failure or financial gain, I think that you are making entrepreneurial decisions. You're not making sound business decisions. You're taking sound business risks.
So Tommy down the street with his lemonade stand is not really taking finance. He's not an entrepreneur then. The kid, right?
He's not. Unless Tommy was selling ice cream that's melting actively and doing something that required like immediate sales because he's got a melting product.
Or maybe if Tommy was buying it on his own, right? Like if he saved his money, he risked all his money. Is that maybe then an entrepreneur?
I think so. I think that anytime you're making some financial gambles and putting yourself out there and promoting yourself, I think that you have an entrepreneurial mindset. If you have a business mindset, then you're probably making some very, very calculated decisions about how to succeed and not really factoring in risk as heavily as an entrepreneur. I don't like to be called an entrepreneur, Shant.
So you're not an entrepreneur. So is it that you don't like to be, or you just don't feel you are one?
I don't feel that I am one. I don't feel that I take on the same type of risks.
Okay. Because I thought you would be entrepreneurial before you mentioned this, because like you're trying different things, right? Like the restaurant you're in, which is kind of like a business. That's your business, right? You got BAC, you got the YouTube, you got these little other endeavors. So like that to me, I thought was entrepreneurship, because it's like you're doing all these different things, but I guess it's more risking a lot of money, which you're probably smarter than most because you're not risking a lot of money. It's more time.
See, I don't like to call myself an entrepreneur. I didn't say that what I'm doing is not what a typical entrepreneur does. It's just I am not as, hey, actually, man, fuck, because if you really boil it down, I am constantly promoting myself via video. So maybe like unknowingly, I'm like the very definition of. However, I don't want to be. I guess it all boils
Why
down
not?
to.
Why don't you want to be? Is it just the aura and just kind of what
cliche? I don't like the cliche. What is your definition? What is your cliche douchebag entrepreneur? Define him for me. How do you, if you close your eyes, do you see a guy in like a sports coat and AirPods driving a Tesla? What do you see when you see entrepreneur?
The guy on Instagram who's like buying Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin and thinking he's the next big Bitcoin. And then he's teaching a course on Bitcoin. Shout out to you, Tav, my brother, Bitcoin.
He's a Bitcoin guru, huh?
No, but he's definitely invested a lot in Bitcoin, I think.
Well, here's the deal. I don't want to be cliche. I don't want, because the moment that you become part of the cliche, you dilute your marketing power, your self-marketing power. You start to become a walking sales pitch.
Yeah, which I can't stand.
Yeah.
And that's why, oh man, I hate the real estate sales side, man, because it's so douchey and it's like, call me. I could do this for you. Hey, did you know this? Call me. Everything it's call me. And it's like pushing it's like, and that's why I really don't respect the real estate sales as a business.
Do you think that people respect you less as an entrepreneur when you're still in that entrepreneurial mindset and not a businessman yet, as in managing your business, not so much taking on risk? Because I think to some degree you graduate. If you're not constantly taking on new businesses or new business ventures, I think you graduate. You go from entrepreneur to businessman.
Mm-hmm. And businessman is like the ultimate respect, right? Like it's...
Yeah, like I don't care. I'm not trying to promote my business here. I'm just trying to maintain it. Like my dad, he doesn't, at this point, he's not promoting himself. His number one goal or his number one motto, the phrase he lives by when somebody's starting a business is get your name out there. He always says that, get the word out there. He's right. Yeah. So get your name out there, get the word out there. And
your dad is pretty he's a businessman now, entrepreneur maybe, because like he's risked, man. Like the guy's done some shit.
Yeah.
Like,
he's made some very big gambles. He has taken on the very principles of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You might have to tell him when you get home, see him tomorrow, be like, Dad, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes. I think that before the internet came along, I think to some degree, they were all entrepreneurs. I don't think that the phrase entrepreneur came about until club promoters were a thing. Right? Because they needed some sort of like a title, right?
Yeah. They're not going to say I'm a
nightlife engineer. You know what I mean? So I got a friend, and everybody thinks his main thing is nightclub promoter. The kid, he's invested in like 7 different restaurants.
Really?
Yes, he's invested into a gym. So the way that...
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to dive deep into that.
It's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of ones that have their hands in everything, they justify their decisions, their financial risks by using the success of another business to close the gap of a failure of another. So they'll look at it as like, okay, am I in the red or am I in the green? Like, where am I exactly personally? Even though this one is flopping a little bit, or my initial investment hasn't returned and probably won't, the other one is like really, really good. So like that's their mindset constantly.
So is he just financially just like this restaurant, let's say Ani Catering is starting, right? And you need money to start the business. Is he the guy who just says, hey, I'm just going to give you money? I'm sure there's probably a bunch of investors if it's big restaurants in the Boston area. And then is he involved is he on the board, or is he just like silent investor, give me my returns? So what's that role look like?
So in some of his investments, he is the silent investor. In some of them, he's an active promoter for it. He's he shows his face. He's constantly.
So he's an entrepreneur.
He's by definition a entrepreneur, and he fits the description.
Mm-hmm.
Very out there, very, very sort of in your face. Everything is about his businesses. So the reason why I don't like to be called an entrepreneur is that I am not trying to get in your face to try and sell you. I don't want to be. Do I have to? Yes. Not sell you. I have to be in your face so you know exactly what it is that I do for work. However, I'm not doing it in the attempt to constantly be selling somebody something. I'm an infopreneur. I'm giving you free information. I'm not doing that because I'm promoting a nightclub or promoting my channel. My entrepreneurial thing right now is giving people information. So,
and the funny thing is, you're giving people information, and the people you're giving, you literally expect zero from them because this other source is paying you for putting out the free information. So it's like, yeah, that's sick.
I just need to drive traffic. Basically, I need to get views. I need to get people looking at it.
You
to get paid.
Are, maybe a marketer.
I'm an infopreneur, Shant. That's what I'm called. I'm called.
So you're a marketer. I mean, you're pretty. I mean, if marketing is to drive traffic, right?
Yes.
And you do a really, really, really good job of driving traffic, except for our podcast. But
I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it, big guy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's part of being a businessman, right? Marketing. So I guess or entrepreneur. Actually, no. Yeah. So explain this to me, man. Because this is like, and I don't know the answer. I'm sure we don't know the exact answer, science behind it, but it's like something that's been interesting me. Like, how does someone know?
I knew you were going to ask that right now.
How do you fucking know is there qualifications that you need to check off? Is it because everyone always says when you're younger, oh, you'd be a great business owner?
Good businessman.
Yeah. Like, what is it?
So I think that everybody has entrepreneurial tendencies. This is very, very, it boils down very, very to simple human interactions. In essence, if I were to go up to my mom and dad and try to convince them to let me sleep over Anto's house,
you got to sell them.
That's an entrepreneurial tendency, right? Like, I got to step outside of my comfort zone, risk getting fucking slapped around a little bit, and go back. So I think that everybody to some degree has it in them to want to do something, but not everybody has it in them to actually do that something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's a matter of how do you know if you can be a successful.
So anyone can be, technically.
Anybody can. They can try their hand at it. Depending on what they're selling, depends on whether or not they're going to actually be successful. So I think that the moment that you grow the balls to actually move forward, I think is really the first test of how well you'd be an entrepreneur, because I never thought that I'd be a successful entrepreneur. Like, if I just decided tomorrow, like, yo, I really want to start selling phone cases at the mall.
Shout out Sacco.
Yeah. It's like the 15-year-old me would be like, bro, like, you could never, but like right now, I'm thinking to myself, like, I could probably fucking.
So I want I'm going to tell you kind of my because that's so sick what you just said. And I hope people caught that with everyone wants to do it until they take the action, right? And I was that person always who had the idea, right? So like, I'll give you my background growing up, but for everyone else. And then I want to hear you, like, how did you have these tendencies growing up? For me, okay, like, I don't know when I'll start, but like, if it snowed, me and my friends, we'd go around, knock on doors, shovel people snow for money, right? That's one. I would have shoveled my parents' house but I'd go out and do other people's because I want to get paid. Then it'd be, what else would it be? It'd be other stuff like that, little things like that. And then like my brother, would like, he was very good with computers. I mean, you remember, right? Like that guy was ahead of the game when it came to computers and anything illegal on the computer. So like he would like have movies and like burn them for his friends and stuff. And my mind was like, yeah, you remember those days, right? Like he'd always have the latest.
Me too. I'm going to tell you that too. Go ahead.
So he always had the latest movies and the albums before they were released. And he was just like, my brother's very laid back kind of guy, like just does it for, and I'm just like, yo, let's blow this up, bro. Like, let's, we're going to start this. I got like I got cases of blank CDs. I got all this stuff. And my brother's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like,
guys,
I got a
Tom and Roger and
I got a labeler. I got this, all this stuff. Right. And then, I worked at a pizzeria and there was a legal backroom poker spot, right? And then
nice.
You remember those days, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I get in trouble for it, so I'll talk about it now. And then me and my friend were like, yo, let's start one on our own, which we did, but it was kind of like under him. I was just kind of like help running it because I had experience in it. And then it's like, this was like 20s, like 19, 20 years old. And then I was like, to my dad and my brother, because I had no money at the time, I'm like, let's buy some real estate, like some duplexes and rent them out. Because I had no money. So I had the idea. And then they were like, no, like we don't have, like, no, we're not going to trust you. And then it was, and this is why I'm probably a bad entrepreneur, business person. My other idea was, I had so many great ideas. Let's buy a laundromat. We would have been out of business by now with it. So I was always the one, just like idea, like let's do it. And it was the one that didn't have the balls, finances, whatever it was, to actually
take on
do something until recently, where I'm just like, now I'm risking a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, you sort of, to some degree, like, listen, if you got it, you're going to take these little micro risks and see exactly what works for you along the way. Yeah. Until you start until those micros for you are like macros for somebody else. Like a micro risk for me is probably fucking detrimental for another person. So I can probably you can probably gauge that to a lot better degree than you could when you were like 15 or 20, whatever. But yeah, man, I was doing mixed CDs in my middle school too. I had my first job when I was 13, and that was in retail. I was working at Sevon Bakery. I had a bunch of Armenian businessmen that were taking risks in and outside of that store. They were involved in a bunch of other stuff. So I was constantly hearing stories about what's smart, what's not smart, how they interacted, how they managed their time. And I don't know why the fuck I went to college, man.
Yeah, it was a waste of time. But so why I got into, it should be interesting, why I got into real estate investing, like, from who?
Who?
Who do you just guess?
Your dad?
No. My aunt.
Oh, yeah. She's really smart.
Fierce.
She is not a landlord I would enjoy having.
Yeah. And she would always tell me, like, from a young age, bro, like, and I think it matters kind of now that you said about you were at the bakery and you were around these business people. And then I always, anytime, like, it'd be a year I didn't see her. Then it's like, I see her, the first thing she asks, you got to make money. You got to buy property, Sean. You got to buy properties. And then one day, me and Betty went to her house. This was like when we first like got engaged or something. I was like, break me down the process. Like literally asked her, we sat for an hour. She broke me down her process. And I was just like, wow, that's it?
Like you little.
And then, yeah. And then like I started having, who was it? Like just friends and stuff and being around like the pizzeria I used to work at, the owner, he had the poker spot and all of them were business owners, right? Like restaurant owners. So just being around that just kind of like pushed me to be like, yo, I got to do this. So I think
want to be like these guys.
Yeah. Just at 7 a.m. playing poker, smoking cigarettes all night. That's
yeah. Fucking. Lord.
I used to have to, these guys, it would be 7, 8 a.m. They were playing all night. I used to go for some of these guys to open up their stores for them. They're like, Sean, can you, it's time. Can you just open it up for me? And someone will show up. I'm like, the fuck? Okay. I used to go open it up for them just and leave.
That's fucked up.
Just
That's
crazy
fucked
shit.
Up.
But so I think it matters. So what do you think is the one key indicator that's someone who's going to take the ball, has the balls to make the moves?
Right. So the reason why I don't think that my father likes to be called or likes to think entrepreneurially, whatever, is because of the willingness to risk. I don't think that to some degree the willingness to risk is there for an entrepreneur at a very, very shallow level. Like you don't have to go too deep for an entrepreneur to want to risk something.
Mm-hmm.
But my father, for example, he really has to be fucking drowning sort of toward the end to want to actually take the risk. He's not very risk oriented. He's been like that before and it's shot him in the foot. So he tries to take very, very minimal calculated risks. An entrepreneur will risk it all at the drop of a hat. And sometimes an entrepreneur is not, they don't think like a businessman thinks. They don't draw out the math very, very well. They just see the opportunity. For them, the gift, I think that an entrepreneur has a gift at seeing the crack and capitalizing on it. It's not even just seeing the crack, but almost like how they can not just fill it, but really, really make it so that it's sprouting like a really, really good plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've seen some of these memes, like a businessman when he sees like a pineapple, they think to themselves, I'm going to take this pineapple for $1 and I'm going to sell it for $3. That's a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
An entrepreneur takes that $1 pineapple and makes like a $8 shake or a smoothie from that pineapple, right? So I think that the entrepreneur, the way that they think is over the top.
Wow, that's such a good, that's crazy. So like, what about the hustler, right? Like, I grew up, in Boston, New York. I was around a lot of hustlers, like people just like worked their ass off, like did shit, like did whatever they had to do. Did they have more success to be an entrepreneur, like or a businessman, or is that like not even a thing? It doesn't matter how hard like you worked as a kid, it just because like me. So one scheme, me and my friend Jimmy, shout out Jim, we used to do in high school so bad, like freshman year of high school or whatever. We used to go around, right? ask everybody for a quarter so I could call my mom, right? Or my brother, or I got to call my something. We'd go around quarter. Every end of the week, we'd come together. We got stacks, bro. Like
we just
like,
quarters, man.
Yeah, and we for back then it was a lot of money for us, So it's like a little scheme. Like we were little schemers, right? Like we go around like, hey man, can you give me a quarter, man? I got to call my mom. Or like, can you give me $1? I want to buy some snack. I don't have any money, and just
like, good for you. Did Shant ask you for a quarter today? Yeah, he asked me for a quarter too.
It all started from fucking Glacial. He would every day ask me for like money, like in 7th grade, like at lunch. I didn't know the kid. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you asking me for money? And I'm like, oh wait, that's a smart idea actually. Let me
let me go around the whole fucking homeroom, see who's got $1 to give me. So I think that you're onto something here. So I think that the hustler takes on zero risk. Financially. I think that the hustler doesn't really calculate too much financially because everything is a gain when you're a hustler.
I see this paper. I'm like, all right, I'm going to sell this paper to somebody.
Yes. I don't think that the hustler, I think that the hustler, he's bound to fail at some point. He's got to make the decision at some point. He can't continue to be just the hustler. He's got to do something so that he's not just hustling. He's not just scraping unless he's a drug dealer. And then at that point, you're going to end up failing at some point.
Well, I mean, a hustler is kind of like a salesperson, right? Like in real estate sales, you constantly always have to sell, to hustle, to make that, like money until you turn it into an actual business. Like some real estate agents have a team. Then it's like, that's a business. Like when you have people working for you and stuff, then you have a real business.
Yes.
Yeah. So go on.
I think that I am a hustler in terms of the amount of work that I'm putting in. I think that the amount of risk, I think that it's not so much financial risk, but I think it's personal risk. The risk of failing. Because you can be financially involved in a lot of different business and keep your name out of it.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of silent investors. So what do you think I would categorize under? Now you know my full story, because I know some of those things you don't even know. You didn't know about me.
No, I didn't. I would probably categorize you as... an entrepreneur, Shant.
Okay.
To some degree, I think that you have made a lot of entrepreneurial decisions in your life. I think that the very moment that you picked up and left New Jersey and risked it all and moved to Arizona represents that core value, that core ability to be able to risk it all. And quite frankly, Shant, bro, you come from nothing.
Yes.
I come from nothing. However, I am not as willing to risk, I don't think, as much as you are.
That's a good point. I wonder why that is, because we kind of have the same, not really same, but because your dad got into businesses right off the bat when he came here. My dad never has. My dad, the most he's ever made is like 50 grand a year, like working.
Does your dad like to gamble?
No, nothing.
My dad doesn't like to gamble at all.
He won't even put a quarter in a slot machine. The guy.
Same with me. My dad will. From time to time, he will. Just to screw around.
Yeah, but not like
micro gamble for him.
Yeah. It's not a real. It's interesting. So why? And it's kind of crazy because my brother's not like me. He's not a big risk taker.
See, I think that core activity or that ability to gamble, your competitive nature and your fearlessness, I'm talking about you right now. I'm not talking about the general characteristics of an entrepreneur. I think that your characteristics, you possessing these traits is what makes me comfortable calling you an entrepreneur. You might not be engaged in day-to-day entrepreneur activities. Like you're not constantly, I'm looking to invest in a pizzeria or I'm looking to start another company.
Yeah.
But your mindset, your approach is very entrepreneurial. How can I approach this and, make it better? Or how can I do this a little bit differently and make a profit from it? Your real estate investing side kicks in there.
You want to know why I think I have that, maybe just thinking about it?
Why?
And just being very self-aware. I think so I always sucked in school, right? I didn't like it and I just wasn't good. Like, I just think I can't read and comprehend as good as other people. Like, so I think my out in my mind has always been, I have to do something else where it doesn't involve school.
Yeah.
That's always been my mindset as a kid. Like, all right, I'm not going to fucking go to a college for 4 years because that's going to end miserably. So what can I do to make money? Because like, I've always thought like that. It's crazy. See, maybe that's why I have more, like, you went to school, you have your degree. You're a little bit more calculative, maybe because like you have more to lose, right? Like you've gone through, like I had nothing because I'm like, dude, I have no back. Like I really have nothing else I could fall back on.
Yeah. So who gives a fuck? Right. So I'm definitely with you on that. I think that is the very explanation for being able to risk it all.
And I want to touch on, sorry to cut you off, like, because I think people get the misconception of like we're trying to shit on like people who work for a company or something, because I have a client, right? I had a client recently, okay? Very, very intelligent client. His dad is a commercial real estate broker here, okay? Big time. And what he does, he works for a large building company, right? He's for a builder. His job, okay, and this guy's a freaking dude. And I met his dad. We were looking at houses. Like, he's with us looking at houses. He just doesn't do these kind of homes that I sell. What he does, he told me, I'm like, what do you do, man? Like, why am I helping your son when you have a real estate license? He's like, I work for a company, a builder, and I acquire land. And I'm the main decision maker. And I'm like, how does that work? So how it works, and I'll break this down to you. This guy is a freaking businessman. Okay. He works for a company. He looks all through Phoenix, Arizona for like land opportunities, right? He looks at the land and then he says, okay, it takes about 2 to 3 years to get a land, to purchase it, to get it up and running and build houses on it, to start selling it. So the builder is going to start building properties and selling it to the public. So this guy has to determine, is this land worth buying, building 100 to 200 homes on it, basically a community, okay? Not like 10, 15, 200 homes on this, sometimes 300. And in 3 years, is this going to make sense?
So his job is to weigh risk.
And like project what's going to happen in the market in 3 years in this area that no one wants to be in. Like the fucking ball, like the sickness.
Yeah. Like you got to
can you imagine that?
Because a lot is riding on that one decision.
You know how much? Because I asked him, like, he's like, if we fail and stuff, $200 to $500 million.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to be in the few hundred million range.
And think about these decisions, bro. Like you're making a decision for 3 years. Like that's a businessman, bro.
Yeah. Your reputation, possibly your life, career. Depending on if it's a private company, they'll fucking have you killed.
So it's like there's people who are executives, any company you're with, there's businessmen in, these companies, man. Like it's not just Oh, you have a boss, you're a fucking loser.
No,
No way.
no. Not even for 1 second. I think that if you're a good employee, like you're a good businessman in your business, I think that your dispensability, I think that if you are indispensable and you are an asset to the company, like they're scared of you losing you,
Yeah,
I think that you really made it. I think that you could really, really make a name for yourself. That's why it's so important to think like an entrepreneur, even if you're working in
Mhm.
corporate, because it's ultimately it's going to set you apart from everybody else at your company. I think that having it, Shant, I think that it could be I think that could be very, very beneficial for
Mhm.
somebody to think like an entrepreneur in business because it makes your job security that much better. We even talked about this before in terms of that, like, listen, like you might have it made
Mhm.
by having like a really, really tight job security at a very, very profitable or successful corporate company, and it could
Yeah.
set you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, episode 22, making your mark in corporate. Great episode, I think that we touched on.
That was the episode we did in person, no?
Yeah, yeah. So check that one out because I think it's dude. Like you have to still survive in the corporate world. That's being entrepreneur, right? Because there's politics going on. There's favoritism going on. There's fucking. If I just okay, let's keep it real, okay? You're your YouTube, you got your YouTube channel, which is kind of entrepreneurial business, marketpreneur,
It
whatever you want
really
to
is,
call
bro.
it, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you work in an office, you got fucking people next to you, got drama, you got politics. You don't have politics with YouTube. You put you record it, you do a really good job, you put a lot of effort into it, and then you put it out. This, you got bosses to look over it. You got this person who's kind of trying to get you out because he wants your job. Like, there's so much shit going on, bro.
You just
It's
reminded me about how much I fucking love my YouTube channel, man. I'm pumped up, man. Let's go.
seriously, no, like,
It's a risk. It was a big risk, dude. I paid like 4 G's just in camera equipment in the past like year and a half.
I
So
think this is a good debate, man. I think not a debate, a good conversation of like, and if people disagree, I want to kind of hear what the fuck you're thinking.
I'm just out here trying not to look like your typical douchebag entrepreneur, bro. That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to
I,
just keep a
I
low.
think I put entrepreneur on my Instagram.
No
Yep.
comment. No comment.
Yep. Check it out. I think I had to do something to get the feature on my story where I could play music. I had to like do something, change
You're
the settings.
you're a creator.
Yeah, and then I had to pick entrepreneur. So I'm the douchebag entrepreneur on Instagram.
My title is video creator on my YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah. That's my category, video creator. You
What
think
about?
that's accurate?
Yeah, it's video creator. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Love it, man. So tonight we came to the conclusion that you are by far a much stronger definition of an entrepreneur than I will ever be, and that to really be an entrepreneur, you've got to be one of those people that just isn't scared to do some shit, to risk some shit, or else you're just sort of just like a mediocre businessman, not an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Don't worry about what Merriam-Webster says about the definition of entrepreneur. That's clearly not right.
But you're an you have that in you too, man. You do.
So yeah.
Well, good times, man. I'm gonna go risk some shit right now. I don't know what.
I'm gonna go risk a game of FIFA with Sacco in a little bit.
Oof.
Whooped his ass the other night. He's still pissed off about it. I won 5-1. Got to get that Xbox Live, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I think my subscription's over by the time you guys fucking get it.
Probably gonna get PS5 anyway. Good night, Shant.
Good night, everyone.